Some of them were really wonderful, watching all of these amazing actors get turned into memes.
I'm super flattered.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Awardist. I'm Entertainment Weekly Senior TV Editor Gerrad Hall. I am having a bit of a pinch me moment right now because of who our guests are. The cast and creative team behind the hit Disney Plus Marvel series WandaVision: Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, Kathryn Hahn, Teyonah Parris, creator, executive producer, and writer Jac Schaeffer, and executive producer and director Matt Shakman. Hello, everyone, and welcome.
Hey.
It's twilight time.
Wanda and Vision, aren't we a five-pack?
This is our home now. I want us to fit in.
Oh, this is gonna be a gas.
I want to start by asking about audience reaction. What kind of comments were all of you receiving during the run of the show that touched you, or maybe that made you think about something that you hadn't thought about before?
I definitely felt a lot about how TV had been a source like the family hearth that had been missing in my family. Like growing up, there'd been such a weekly ritual of my family gathering around the television to watch a show that there hadn't been something that we could all watch together. And there was something very, very sweet and nostalgic about that.
I was hearing about multiple generations talking about this show, and grandparents who are enjoying watching the show because of the nostalgia aspect of the sitcoms, and the grandkids explaining to them the Marvel universe and how it crossed multiple generations in that way.
Were there any Reddit threads or sites or fan theories that you guys were all following along with, like, oh, these people are onto us, or anything like that?
I mean, I loved looking at the memes and the TikTok videos and seeing that there was this dialogue happening between the show and the fans out there. Some of them were really wonderful. Watching all of these amazing actors get turned into memes was really fun. Seeing Agatha All Along get done by so many wonderful people, some really moving things. Seeing Paul turned into Vishan was also a pretty good one. There are some great things out there.
I'm super flattered.
I better get going. That macrame is not going to hitch itself.
Matt sent Kathryn and I last week or this week, and I forwarded on to Paul Bettany, and it was WandaVision drag brunch in Minnesota. I don't think I realized truly how big our show was until it reached that kind of pop culture icon level.
Oh my God, we've totally made it. We've totally made it based on the drag brunch.
I really never felt so seen or proud.
It's how I impressed my niece. She loves the show and fine and Marvel and fine and whatever, but I sent her the drag brunch and the emojis I got back, it's a thing. So
That's great. That's great. I love that. Well, Jack and Matt as well, I know much has already been said about a lot of the classic sitcoms that you guys referenced, but, here, of course, here we are doing this interview during FYC season, which is leading up to the Emmys, which celebrate the best in TV, and this show did the same with classic sitcoms. But what I really want to know is, how did you even land on that idea? Were there other options explored before you really sat down and put all the time and work into this specific storytelling device?
the concept belongs to Kevin Feige. It was his idea to marry Wanda and Vision with the history of sitcoms. He is a Nick at Night type of guy. And he, based on this very long history in the comics of Wanda and Vision in various domestic suburban spheres, he, thought those two things would go together. And so when I was invited to pitch on the project and sort of bring shape to it, they knew that Wanda's history and her very intense legacy of loss in her personal life would be an excellent emotional foundation for the show, and her superpowers that have to do with reality manipulation, that it would be a terrific opportunity to unpack that and explore that more.
Yeah, I was going to say we designed everything really around the television and the fireplace, and all of those sets through the eras where it had the same floor plan, which was the family gathered around the TV and the fireplace.
What were kind of the challenges of like wrapping your head around how do I take this character that everyone knows and put it here and still make it work?
I think what you have to do as an actor is trust that you are putting these characters in a different world, and that the story will unravel and tell itself. So you just have to focus on doing the best you can, episode to episode, whatever our goal was, whatever our restrictions were based on tone and style. So the challenge really was just nerdy actor stuff, like learning how to do physical comedy better, remembering that we have legs and walk in scenes, and that our bodies are very important for comedy, and our voice and the inflections and mannerisms, and then trying to find that sweet spot with Matt on the tone of when the Marvel Cinematic Universe starts to confront the sitcom world.
And I think having someone that comes from the theater as our captain leader, Matt, and having a writer that knows these characters even through the decades, that there is a true north. The center will always be held. Such a great example of that is in the 70s. I keep going back to the stork scene between Geraldine and Wanda. Like, they're both there in that scene, even though it's so loud and different from the other interactions they have together. It's still them. Like, so I think it's a combination of the writing. It's a combination of somebody that is a dramaturg at heart, Matt Shakman, who just knows theater and just knows it from inside out.
The thing that I was like, that's a cool idea when Kevin pitched it to me. And I thought, well, how does it not just be a gimmick? And Jack found a way for it to really not be a gimmick. And I was talking to somebody recently who was like, what's amazing about the show is that it's blown TV wide open, because TV usually makes a contract with the audience about what the show is, and then it never reneges on that deal. And WandaVision did, and I've been thinking about it a lot, and it didn't. It was just so cleverly wrought that it made the contract with the audience, and it just didn't let you know for a while.
Teyonah, Kathryn mentioned Geraldine. I love that scene so much, by the way, that you mentioned with the stork and everything. But this character, Geraldine / Monica, in so many ways, I feel like was kind of an audience member. She knows something's going on. She's trying to unlock this and help us get to where we need to be. On top of that, she's gaining powers in the process because of going back and forth between the walls. So for you, where does one start? Because you also kind of have a lot of things here to deal with.
That particular scene, I always talk about this when Lizzie and I are on together. It was very difficult, and I had a couple of conversations with Matt, because you have all the technical things, like someone walking around in a green suit with the stork thing, and then Geraldine is going on and on about her job and just trying to get those words. And I think for me, because I didn't have Monica in my body, I didn't have her before, I was creating her in this moment, in this process, that true north that Kathryn is talking about. I second guessed it a lot. What if, am I Monica? Does this part come out, Matt? Is it supposed to be completely different? I struggled with that a bit, because I also was like, the audience doesn't know Monica yet. So they don't know what's, you know what I mean? This, just like I'm going on and no complete thoughts have come out yet. That was me on the set, trying to figure out and get this all in my body.
Comic books have long tackled topics like this and emotions, but really I feel like a lot of the stories that we've seen brought to the screen are really trying to save the day, saving Earth from destruction. So for this particular story to be brought to life in this way, I think is first of all, kudos in just even trying to do that, because we're not used to seeing that really dealt with in this way, showing the battle to reconcile with grief and accept it, and to see how it affects the decisions that we make and how it affects others around us. That's a lot, but it worked here so well. So what was the key to unlocking how to handle that and arriving at a place where Vision says, but what is grief if not love persevering, which just,
The true north that Kathryn talked about, I think, is that exploration of loss that Jack so beautifully did. And so it's there even from the first episode, right? It's there in episode 1 when they're challenged by the boss and the boss's wife about their past and who they are. You start to feel it percolate. There's this kind of lake of trauma underneath the show the entire time. And it's really the spine of the show, the story of loss and grief, but it's the flip side of that, which is love, right? It's this beautiful love story, and it's this beautiful exploration of grief, and that allows you to have crazy scenes with storks. And Jack should talk about how she structured this, about the stages of grief, which was genius, and I think is absolutely evident in it.
I worked on several Marvel properties, and you inherit things, and it was such a relief on this project to have it not be about saving the universe. It was an opportunity to have it really be about this woman's trauma, and a specific scenario in a town that was very contained. And it was also a gift to be working from the tremendous work that Paul and Lizzie had already done in the MCU. So there was no starting from scratch. There was, a wealth of comics, and then there were 2 living, breathing people who had embodied these characters for so long and brought so much to them. But it was such a delicious opportunity to literally put them in a scenario that is like the least expected, anticipated world for them. But yeah, it was early on, my pitch was mapped to the stages of grief. It ended up being kind of a reductive thing. Like in early drafts and in the writer's room, we did a lot more. I don't know if you know this, Teyonah, but you had a therapist in the base, in the pop-up base. There were therapy scenes because we in the room were very pro therapy. We saw this show as being really truly about mental health, and we were like, well, we got to have a therapist. And then realized that there was not a lot of time in the pop-up base for Monica to be stepping into her sessions at all. It's in Wanda Maximoff's history. We took it very seriously. It's in the MCU. It's in Lizzie's performance and her connection to Vision and what that means in Paul and Lizzie's combined work on the screen. And we took that and ran.
I think it's really hard to tell stories about grief and trauma that people really want to see. You should really check out this show. It's about grief and trauma. But we captured the audience through humor and charm. And so we already disarmed them so that they can be with us when we get to these sadder, darker moments. And I think that was the key to having this affect people.
All right, doing a bit of a 180 here. Kathryn, I got to know, was playing a powerful sorceress always on your wish list of roles?
Yes. Absolutely. 100%. When I walked out of the general meeting I had with Lou and Mary Lavanos, our producer, I was like, I had no expectation, whatever. I thought maybe it'd be years from then, but if ever, I would have gotten a Marvel gig. But I thought, oh God, a villain would be just so fun. And I didn't really know that there were even real witches in the universe besides the Scarlet Witch. I had no idea. And then a few days later, when I was called to meet with Matt and Jack and Mary, and I heard about Agatha, I was I couldn't believe it. I was so thrilled. So yeah, that was the dreamiest. I really hold this experience so deep to my heart, Gerrad. I really do. And it has to do with this ensemble and these writers and Matt. I want to cry thinking about it. I loved it so much.
But I love hearing that, because I know that so many in the audience love the character, love your performance. You to me, Kathryn, are one of those actors who, no matter the role, you make it your own and make acting decisions that I can't picture anybody else making. So great kudos to you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, it's all good.
Which also kind of leads me into, of course, the song was big, but the music in general, what Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez created here for every episode, these theme songs, Agatha All Along. Well, take me back to, for Agatha, like the first time that Matt and Jack or whoever, the first time you guys heard that.
Matt brought them on, like of the millions of things that Matt did, like his strokes of genius, bringing Bobby and Kristen into the mix. Like I can't imagine it being any different way. And they would send us. I remember hearing the '80s one. I remember being together and being like, "Holy cow!"
Yeah, this is amazing. I mean, the first thing they did was originally you had That's So Agatha was sort of the idea for and I remember Kristen saying, we've been toying around with Agatha all along. We thought, great, awesome. And then we had several chats about what exactly Agatha had been doing all along so they could be more specific with it. And then, I just remember that Munsters meets Oompa Loompa song coming in and just being like, oh my God.
And it was like, would Kathryn sing it? And it was like, oh, yes, she will. Yes, she will sing it.
Without a doubt, I was like, if anybody else touches it, I'm going to be so angry. Like, I was like, I have to do it. I have to do it. I was so excited.
And then it was the great joy to see Kathryn Hahn rise the iTunes chart above Justin Bieber and Cardi B. I know you got up to like number 4 or something. It was the greatest thing. You're a rock star. You are a literal rock star.
When I'm, God willing, a very, very old lady, I will be able to just be rocking in a chair on a porch, remembering that I was above the Biebs for a very short amount of time.
I want to see the Agatha All Along performance on the American Music Awards with like special guest Megan Thee Stallion.
Let's make that happen, Gerrad.
What
do we call? I just heard about what a trap remix is, and I want to do that.
I did actually float it.
I just aged myself.
Oh, the trap mixes.
Well, let's make that happen.
It is.
The snares,
I did ask Disney Music about this because Cardi B's Halloween costume last year was the most amazing Scarlet Witch outfit I've ever seen. So I was like, a duet?
Okay.
Let's see. So I don't know. He hasn't called
This is going to happen. We're manifesting this. It's in the world. It's in the universe. It's going to happen. Yep. All right. As we start to wrap up here, I want to hear from all of you your favorite moment or episode from the series. And Paul, I will start with you.
Oh my God, I was really recalcitrant when Matt said we're going to do the first episode in front of live studio audience, and I was like, you're going to do what? What are you talking about? We can't possibly do that. And I haven't been in front of a live studio audience for 25 years, and I don't want to be. And I'm already frightened because I'd started really watching Dick Van Dyke and going, oh my God, it's so skillful what he's doing, and I was terrified. And he forced us into it, and we shot it in one day and then came back for specials and pickups, and it was the greatest. It was so much fun. And it was this big leap into a void with the cast, and you kind of went, well, I guess that's the tone, you know what I mean? So it went from terrifying to just the most extraordinary experience in about, 45 minutes.
Thing was amazing. It was just also new and different, but I guess watching Paul, Lizzie, and Kathryn throughout all the decades, like I'm fans of their work before this, and so to watch, just like I feel like there was just the level, what the skill you need to be able to hit that kind of comedy in each decade. Like with Paul, it's just like, oh my gosh, it's just so easy and smooth, and Lizzie having to have the depth and really go through all 10 decades, and Kathryn just that like snap, like I just felt like I was learning watching the entire thing, and then just getting to walk the shoes of becoming a superhero. I mean, it was all amazing. I don't know, Matt, Jack, everybody, I can't think.
I mean, I think I would say the same as Paul. I think it would be the curtain call from the live studio audience. It felt like the beginning of something, and it felt like I couldn't believe it was a television show, that we were on the brink of something, like that we had completed something and yet had so much more to go. Like the whole thing was magic.
I would also pick the live studio audience, but since I can't, I'm going to pick the day that we shot the opening title sequence for the 70s show, which was like just the best day of everybody doing quick changes into ridiculous, beautiful 70s outfits and different hairdos, and Lizzie with her baby bump, riding on a bike, a double bike, and coming out of the library, Paul with his friends, high-fiving while he sneaks the pregnancy book. It was just great. Kathryn's saucy expression coming out of the dress shop. It was just really fun. Teyonah there waving at them on the bike. It was just one really fun bit after another running around.
The day that we shot Wanda and Vision's goodbye in the house, I think because the whole show hinged on that moment. We were blessed in the writer's room that we always knew where the end zone was. We knew where the show was going, and that was never in question. Lots of things were in question, lots of things shifted, but that was always, that's what we were gunning toward. And I had no doubt that it would be beautiful, with Paul and Lizzie. And we talked about it so much, and Matt came in with the framing, with the bay window, and the hex kind of receding and coming toward them, and it was so glorious. And it was one of those things that on the day you're like, we got it.
Wanda, I know we can't stay like this, but before I go, I feel I must know. What am I?
You, Vision, are the piece of the Mind Stone that lives in me. You are a body of wires and blood and bone that I created. You are my sadness and my hope. But mostly you're my love.
I'm just gonna be so random. My favorite moment was filming a scene with the kids, Julian and Jet. And it was when the dog is dead and Kathryn has the dog. And I'm telling them that, that they can't escape death. And Julian, at the end of it, looked at me and he said, oh, that was the best I've ever been. Oh my God, that was so good. And the camera wasn't on him. It was on the other kid, and I didn't have the heart to tell him. And I really do think that in that moment, I was like, oh my God, what, a confidence, And I think that to me it just gave me so much joy that I think about it all the time.
That was the best. Kind of sums it up. Everybody kind of gave it their all, off camera or on.
I mean, that kind of pure, unbridled, yes, I did a great job. And all of you did. So congratulations on the series. I wish we could have more. It seems like we can't, but you all did a fantastic job. So congratulations, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. It's been a great honor to talk to all of you about it.